Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see by my breath, pretty cold out here in Oklahoma. Been out of work for a few days because of ice, and I took that time to put some deck lights on my boat and some compartment lights. And I've already got the job done, but I'm going to go over everything I did, show you what I used, the lights, whole 9 yards. It was a pretty easy project other than just crawling in the compartments. But I'm going to go over everything step by step, so y'all stay tuned, check it out. Alrighty, well, as y'all can see, the lights turned out really good. Really happy with them. They're really bright. I've got two really bright floodlights going. There's one up there and there's one up there. Lights are still really bright. In the dark, man, I put them on a dimmer switch because they're so bright. But I'm going to show you kind of how I've got these mounted over here. Okay, so the deck lights and the one courtesy light, which is right down here, right down on that bottom, right there. Those lights I put on a dimmer switch simply because if it's early in the morning and these lights are really bright, so you want to be able to see, but they don't want to blind you either. So I put those on a dimmer switch. My compartment lights I've got just on a regular rocker switch, and I'll kind of go over that with you again here in a minute. But anyway, I mounted the lights there, and I'm shooting this with my iPhone, so y'all bear with me. I wanted to go as far forward as possible with that last one, but in the Champion, there's a big ridge of foam that runs right here, and I couldn't. My plan was to take this tray up and come in here, but I couldn't because of this big ridge of foam. So basically all I had to do, or could do, was raise this rod locker lid and reach as far into there as I could and get this one. And then I drilled the hole, mounted this light, and then came back here and mounted this one as far back this way as I could towards the console, and then measured the distance between this one and the front one. It was actually 50 inches, so at 25 inches off the front or back when I mounted the center one. And I did the same measurements on this other side over here. As you can see, I did those the same way. Mounted that one, measured 25 inches, and then the same thing up there. All right, so here is the actual lights that I used. Just bought these off of Amazon. Now you can buy the really expensive ones, the TH Marine, you know, the LEDs or the blue water LEDs. Those are fantastic lights. I just personally didn't want to spend that much money right off the bat. I wanted to make sure that I liked them, you know, to have lights where they are in the first place. But, you know, I just didn't want to spend that much money. But if I ever want to upgrade, you know, I've already got the hose, I've got the wire ran. It's just simply changing the lights out. But these lights came on Amazon. They're called Hong, H-O-N-G 111 marine lights. and they were, I think, 18 or 19 bucks for a pack of 6. So I bought 2 packs, which I had like 40 bucks in lights. And this little silver thing, I'm trying to do this with one hand, pops off. It's just a trim piece. Now on the back, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's encased in like just a hard weatherproofed seal. So these wires are actually waterproofed inside there. Okay. The only thing I think is bad about these lights, and of course you get what you pay for, I know, but if you can see, I don't know if it'd be hard to see or not, I'm gonna put my finger there. You can see that little piece of wire coming out. Now that is soldered wire, which is really, it's really stiff, so that's good. Well, it's not quite long enough to use in the connectors that I use, which I'll show you in a minute. So I wanted to strip some wire off so I could have some more. Well, this wire is so thin. It took me forever to figure out an easy way to get this wire stripped. I couldn't hardly do it with my wire strippers because it would pull the wire loose. But I finally got it done, or figured out a way that I could strip the wire and have, a decent amount of strands left to do something with. But overall, I'm very pleased with the lights. They look, of course you can see, they look good on the boat. Once you make the connections, you just come back. Well, first there's a gasket that goes between the light and the side of the boat. That's just popped off. But, and it's got a good amount of adhesive to it that sticks to the back of the light, and then that fits against the boat and makes a waterproof seal around. And then this trim piece, there's kind of a little indentation, you see it right there. It just snaps on, that always goes to the bottom. And you can hear it just kind of, trying to do this with one hand. There we go, you hear it pops on. And that trims it out. You can't see the screws. I think it's a great looking little light. For 20 bucks for 6 of them, you can't beat that. And they work. That's the most important part. But anyway, the connections was a big deal for me. I didn't want to worry about the hitting rough water, knocking these lights loose. So I wanted a good connection. So I bought these. If you've heard of these or not, they're called solder sleeves. And they come in a kit. There's about 250 pieces in this kit that I ordered. 10 to 12 gauge, 14 to 16, let's see, 16 to 18, and 22 to 24. I mean, there's separate sizes in there. But the way this works is this is a butt connector, where normally you would use, a butt connector and you would crimp down on both sides. Well, you slide your wire up into each side, and as long as the wires go past the center silver piece, it's a ring solver that's in there. Ring solder. As long as each piece goes past it where they're overlapping each other, then you just take a lighter or a heat gun or something to that effect, and you start heating this. And this is actually heat shrink. These are waterproof rings that melt against the wire, so it creates a waterproof seal coming into the connection area. Then this solder ring melts and it solders the two wires together, 2 sections of wire together. It's unbelievable. I mean, guys say that this has been around for a long time. I'd never seen them until just a few months ago, but I ordered them just to do this project. They came in last week, and couldn't be more pleased with them. I mean, they really work well. You just have to work with your heat. Too much heat and it gets really, really flimsy. But just the right amount of heat. I mean, you can see the solder melt, and it just wicks all through the strands of the wire on both sides. These little red rings will melt and makes that waterproof connection. And you can hang a 10-pound weight on this and it won't pull. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. It's a game changer for me. But anyway, those are 2 screws to screw it into your boat. Of course, I pre-drilled everything and screwed it down. So that is the lights. That is the connectors. I used 14 gauge positive negative wire to run for my lights. And I bought that at O'Reilly's, to be honest. And the whole project, I've got less than 60 bucks. That's not counting this. This was about 50 something dollars, but I do a lot of electrical work too on my business. So I bought this for that, but this was about 50 bucks for a 250 piece set. Not counting that, I've got about 60 bucks in lights, a couple of little switches that I'm going to show you, and the wire. So Next, we're going to go back to the control switch panel. I'm just going to kind of explain what I did to make my connections. All right, so here's the control panel, or the switch panel. My original plan was to run a dedicated hot line or hot wire from the back battery compartment back there through the channel that comes up to here, so it has its own dedicated. To be honest, it was so hard to try to fish wire through there. There's a bunch of wire in there, and then at the very back, there's literally almost a 90-degree turn you have to get out of to get back to the batteries. So I decided just to take this panel off and look to see if there was an extra place that I could jump off a hot, and luckily there was. Here on this power switch, there was an extra hot coming up. So I needed, because I had a dimmer switch, I needed a hot for the dimmer switch, and I needed a hot for the rocker switch. So I just tied 2 hots together, put them on that extra stub that came out of this power switch, so that took care of my hots. Now, as far as the negatives, if you're talking about just a 2-prong rocker switch, like this, all that is a circuit interrupter. That's all that is. So, it's really not complicated if you sit and think about it. You just want something that's going to break that circuit. So that's all this is. So what I did is I took one of my hot wires off my power switch. I came into one side of the rocker switch on the one pole, and then out of the second pole of the rocker switch, I came in and tied into the hot going to my compartment lights, because that's the only thing that this switch controls, off and on, is my compartment lights. And then I ran the negative from the compartment lights back up and tied into a negative post that was inside this switch panel. That took care of my compartment lights. Now, the dimmer switch was a little different. It had 4 wires. It had an input hot and negative, and it had an output hot and negative. So with that being said, I jumped a hot off the power down to the input side of the dimmer, and then I jumped a negative off of a negative post in this switch panel down to the input side of the dimmer. Then the output of the dimmer, I tied to the positive and negative of the deck lights and the one courtesy light that I have right there. That gave me my power for my dimmer switch. So I got everything done. It took me running the wires and doing all the work. It took me probably about 10 hours by myself, and that was taking breaks and going inside and whatnot. But the end result, I'm telling you, I'm very pleased with it. I hit all my wires inside the corners and the top seams of the carpet. You can't see any of the wires. The only places you can see wire, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the video or not, is under here, right there. That's just the compartment light that goes in, and then that hides in the seam of the carpet. That's the only section of wire you can see. And then I have the same on the driver's side right there. So that's it. That's my project. Like I said, it took about 10 hours to do it by myself. The hardest part was crawling in these compartments. I'm 47 years old, or will be this year, and I'm just not young anymore. And it hurt, to be honest. This is an 18-foot boat, so the compartments are not that big. But I was able to get it done. I cleaned everything up, and I couldn't be more pleased with it. It was a great little project, and didn't break the bank to do it. And now I'm going to be able to see in the mornings when I get ready to fish, in my compartments and my deck lights. The only thing I wish I would have done, and I still may do, is order another pack of those lights. Like I said, they're only 18 bucks, 19 bucks, is put one light on each side of the back deck for if I got a co-angler back there, just to finish it out and make it look like there's lights all the way around. That being said, I'm freezing my tail off. I'm going to go in the house, have a cup of coffee. I've got a water issue. I think we got a busted pipe somewhere, so I've got to get on that too. But hope everybody stays warm, stays well. Hope everybody's 2021 has started off great. Our tournament season starts in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to try to do some filming during this tournament season. Last year, I had a really good year. I won 2 tournaments out of the 5, finished 4th in the 3rd one, and qualified for the Ray Scott National Championship. So I'm going to try to do some filming this year on the tournament trail and try to put some tournament videos out. Anyway, going to get out of here. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that like button, share the video. I know this wasn't the actual install, But I hope I covered everything. If there's any questions you have, pop them in the comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them. I always answer all the questions. Going to get out of here. I will see you next time from the water. This is Jonathan, and I'm out. We'll see.